Welcome to Resident Evil series, and this is about the real zombie. In my opinion, the real zombie, one who's human, who thinks like human, then becomes a zombie. So let's begin. When I speak of the first real zombie, I think of one who is human, think like a human, but don't control their thoughts, as one body here is rotten, coming piling off them, becoming rotten, and have a heavy need for flesh, for either it's human or animal. In 1998, the virus known as Epsilon was leaked in Arkley Mountain's secondary mansion, becoming airborne. After becoming airborne, the lab and the surrounding area everyone became infected basically, and those who didn't eventually. When becoming infected, some took weeks or a little over a month to become one, but when they became one, they felt all the human traits along with the zombie traits. And what's special about this is that they could become an even greater foe once dead. They became feral, which gave them ever stronger power with giant claws. Those who were immune basically eventually succumbed to the infection of the dead, or their teammates, or their lab partners, or their bodyguards. The symptoms of the Epsilon virus is itchiness, rational thoughts, rotten flesh peeling off you, and the need for flesh. I meant irrational thoughts, and basically they can't, even though they knew what they were doing was wrong, they just couldn't help it. Unlike some viruses, Epsilon is a modified version of the Tyrant virus, and anyone who got infected with the Tyrant virus, basically the modified one, would become a tyrant like this after less successful attempts on prisoners that were escorted to the facility, but others became those known as Crimson Heads, which are those who think like human but eventually turn to a zombie, and even greater zombie, a feral zombie, which is also a Crimson Head. Also like to mention that one of the very few Crimson Head that became one was George Trevor. Unlike his family, his wife became deadish and was put in a coffin, and his daughter, which was Lisa Trevor, was also killed. Well, she actually became worse than a zombie and a feral and a tyrant, but she still retained some memory. And George Trevor, which is also known as the architect of the mansions in Arkley Mountain, was betrayed by Spencer, so he became somewhat the first experiment being trapped in the mansion. And like most of those that were infected with the Epsilon virus, George Trevor took somewhat a few weeks in his torture before he became one. And that's that, I suppose, on the Epsilon virus that came out in 1998, I suppose, around that, a bit before, as it was still in experiment phases. I forgot to mention that some did not recover as a zombie, some just laid there on the ground. They were too weak. I reckon they were eaten so they couldn't exactly become one. Thanks for watching. Feel free to like, subscribe and share.